What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today we had a package come in from OEM Extinguishers. I'm going to leave all of their information down below, but I've been waiting for this to complete the rear seat delete setup on my E92 M3. If you guys recall, in one of the previous videos I actually did the GTS rear seat delete in this car. It looks really good. There are a few things that I want to update on it, and I'll go over that in a minute in this video. But this fire extinguisher setup was sort of the missing piece to finalize everything in that rear seat delete setup. It's going to look really good. These fire extinguishers are super cool. They come from BMW, so these are OEM, which in my opinion just fits this build a lot better. Being that everything is sort of an OEM plus type vibe, this GTS fire extinguisher and mount is going to look really good in our rear seat delete. So big shout out to the guys over at OEM Extinguishers. I'm really happy with this. This really just completes the whole theme to the car. The GTS mount looks amazing, and they sell all of this, so I'll have it all linked down below for you guys. But basically, when you put it in the car, you want this facing towards the front. This is meant to be a shield. If you were in an accident or something and the fire extinguisher came out, it doesn't fly up and hit you in the face while you're driving. You have this cool little GTS shield. And then of course the OEM extinguisher, which just looks perfect in this mount. Pretty easy to put together. Everything just bolts up from the bottom, nut and bolt. And yeah, it fits like OEM spec, like it's meant to be. Looks really good. You have a little strap here. You just pop off the strap, pull it out just like that. Super quick, easy. And in the event that you had to actually use this thing, you would press one here, press two here, and it would start spraying. So super simple to use, really fast and convenient, and it just looks amazing. Super happy with it. Go ahead and lock it back down, just like that. So in order to install it, the good thing is I have the Sportsters back in this car, so it's really easy to get into the back. But we can just fold these up, and essentially what we're going to do is just mount it right here. So I'm going to look up photos of the M4 GTS and just get an idea, like a rough idea as to where they mount theirs, and then I'll do some measuring and mount mine. It's going to be pretty simple. Just drill a few holes, use a couple of bolts and then some nuts, 4 to be exact, and we should be good. Really shouldn't be that difficult. Probably only going to take us 10 minutes to put it in. They also make these black little plastic plugs in the event that I want to take it out of this car, so I can just put the plugs on and it still looks factory spec. The one thing about this rear seat delete that I'm just not totally hyped on is the plastic rails going across here, there, and there. On my real M4 GTS, these were actually metal, and I think that that makes a lot more sense. So what I'm actually going to do here is buy some aluminum, some right angle aluminum, have it powder coated black, and just use that. So that will fit this whole vibe a lot better, and it'll be much more structurally rigid, and then you won't get that weird like binding up, you know, like you do over here. That was the only thing about this rear seat delete that I didn't absolutely love. Outside of that, the fit and the finish is incredible. Real Alcantara, it feels really good, and the fit is super snug, super nice. So just adding that OEM extinguisher, really going to complete the back seat for us. So I found a picture online of the OEM placement in the M4 GTS, and it looks like it's actually pretty close to the front. So I think that we're only going to be measuring and drilling like 2 inches in. So I would say probably around here. So I'm just going to mock it up based off of what I see here and just mark up the holes and then do some drilling, put our nuts and bolts through, and we should be good. All right, so looking at this photo, I'd say that this is probably about right. Obviously, it doesn't have to be completely perfect, but this should get me where I need to be with the actual extinguisher in the car. And all I did was remove the back bolt over here, and that way I can move the whole mount around like that and get into every single little hole rather than taking the whole thing apart. So I'm just gonna start marking the holes, and then we'll do some drilling for the hardware. Found some hardware that I like. 5mm Allen on this side and a 13mm socket nut on this side. It also fits the holes of the mount like perfectly, so we're actually going to use these, and it's going to be as simple as drilling in my little holes right here with a smaller bit, and then I'll move up to a bigger one. has a little locator pin on the bracket, and that is where this goes. Put a foam ring in the back. It'll sit right in here, just like that. Settle in upright, just like that. Here we go. Looks so good in this rear seat. How good does this look in here? It's the perfect setup for this rear seat delete and everything that I got going on in the M3. Had a lot of people telling me I need to get a cage. I just don't want to do it, not in a street car. But this setup looks freaking awesome, man. It's so good. And there's definitely nothing wrong with being extra safe and making sure if things went down, there was a fire, would be able to put it out. And to top it off, it's OEM. So this just looks amazing in here. Really, really happy with it. Huge shout out to the guys over at OEM Extinguishers. And I think what I'm actually gonna do, my full focus right now is on the 135. I'm building this car for Beamer Invasion, and there are some big things that I want to have happen before I go to the show. The first one is I'm doing a top mount single turbo kit on this car. It's gonna be amazing. The other one is I'm doing the E92 M3 rear subframe, and I'm changing out all of the suspension to the M3 suspension. So I'll actually be running Öhlins Road and Track coilovers, the same setup I have on that car. I'll be running it on this car. True E92 M3 suspension. The diff will be going to E9X M3. Entire rear subframe will be going over to E92 M3. Drive shaft, everything. And then lastly, the brakes will end up being the F80 brakes. So basically mimicking the same setup that I have on this car, but I'm doing it on this car. So we will have F80 brakes, E92 rear subframe, full E92 M3 suspension, single turbo kit, and then the last little piece that I want to work on before I actually take this car to Beamer Invasion is I want to change up the rear seat delete setup on this car. So there's nothing wrong with this rear setup. This is by Stern Performance, and I think it's pretty cool, but I much prefer the setup that I have in the E92 M3. So I'm going to do a custom setup like that in this car. I just think it looks a little bit better than like the carpet. It just fits better. It's a bit more clean, much more OEM. And yeah, I think overall for the build, it just makes more sense. So I'll be getting rid of this fire extinguisher, this entire rear seat delete, and we'll be going over to the same setup that we have in the E92 M3, which I think overall is just going to suit this car and the build much better. So basically just imagine this setup in that car. Much cleaner, and yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna look good. Lots of work to do on this car. So this car is pretty much done. This is like the last thing that I really wanted to do to this car, especially on the interior. Right now I am daily driving this car, so it's cool. I like it. It's definitely a fun car. Manual in an E92 M3 is a bit much to drive every day. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I just get a little bit tired of sitting in traffic and, you know, driving this car. I have been thinking about actually picking up either an X3M, an X4M, even an X5M, or potentially an X6M. I would like to get into one of the X series cars. X3M probably makes the most sense, being that it has the S58. They're super fast. They look really good. And I'm starting to see those dip into the 40s. So I'm gonna try and find one here in the next few months. And I'm hoping to put this car away into storage, continue working on this car because it's like the all-time project car, get this thing dialed in for Beamer Invasion, and then in the meantime, we'll be able to make some S58 content, X3M content on the new daily. So I think it kind of makes sense to go in that direction. All right, so those are the plans, lots on deck. Super easy to install the OEM fire extinguisher for the GTS rear seat delete in the E92 M3. Like I said, I'm gonna have all this stuff linked down below for you guys. We also recently did one in an A90 Supra that looked really good, and then I plan on running this exact same one in the E82. So that whole setup is gonna be very similar. I think that it's gonna look phenomenal in that car. And yeah, overall, just really happy with the way it turned out. So I'll have all the stuff linked down below for you guys. Huge shout out to the guys over at OEM Extinguishers for sending all that stuff out. 10 out of 10 would recommend, but that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.